Yeah, let's push up past the contour. Oh, they got me.
Not in a sexual way.
I'm down.
Land, you bastard.
I got him! I blew him up with a grenade launcher!
This is Battlefield 3 as you've never seen it before. High tick rate servers and high frame rate clients, all with the classic Battlefield 3 maps and Frostbite engine destruction. This is all from the totally free Battlefield 3 mod Reality, a spiritual successor to the Battlefield 2 mod of nearly the same name, which of course would go on to become Squad, a standalone game. Mods like this one are only possible on PC, and I recorded this video with this mod on my Apex gaming PC. Apex is actually the sponsor of this video and a long-term sponsor here on the channel. If you want to play mods like this one, buying a Apex Gaming pre-built PC is a perfect way to get your foot in the door. You guys can pick from 3 tiers of PCs that I helped spec out with the Apex build team, and if you use code RangerDave on checkout, you can save up to $250 off the purchase price. All the info for that is right there in the description. Make sure you guys check it out if you want to be able to play mods like this. As a longtime fan of the Battlefield series, I am just impressed that this mod exists at all. In fact, it's the existence of the Venus Unleashed modding framework that I think is almost the most shocking part of this whole project. I didn't think we would ever get any mods for any of the modern Frostbite games. DICE and EA offer no modding tools and zero modding support for the community. The Venus Unleashed modding framework team has made all of this possible by essentially working backwards and making their own map editors and mod tools for Battlefield 3's version of the Frostbite engine. What started out as just being small tweaks to Battlefield 3's graphics, like removing the blue filter, adding higher tick rate servers, and other small improvements like that, has moved on to mods like Project Reality, full or near total conversions, and soon we're going to have new weapon models, assets, and skins, and more content that can actually be imported right into the game. Again, this is just incredible that any of this is working at all. This is such a huge achievement for the Venus Unleashed modding framework team, as well as the Battlefield 3 Reality team. A ton of hard work has gone into this stuff. And what's really wild is joining a Battlefield 3 Reality server is super easy thanks to that same modding framework. All you have to do is download the Venus Unleashed client, set up a login, and log in with your character. From there, you just pick a Reality server out of the super clean and functional server browser. Again, something that Battlefield 2042, an actual full-blown game, couldn't pull off. That game still has no server browser, and here we have a working server browser with a really great user interface in a 10-plus-year-old game, again, that has no official modding tools. Once you join a Reality server, it downloads the mod for you right there out of the framework, and it takes about, I don't know, 5 or 6 seconds. It's just a few megabytes of modded files for now. So, what does joining a Battlefield 3 Reality server get you? The team added some basic mechanics first. They kept the base Frostbite engine feel. The weapon handling and ballistics are very similar and quite familiar if you've ever played Battlefield 3's base version. However, they have tweaked the player movement speed, the respawn mechanics, as well as the overall weapon handling. Shooting is going to feel pretty familiar, but how your player character moves in the world and how you handle your weapons is going to feel a little bit slower paced, more grounded, and more realistic. Much like Squad, you also have deployable assets like artillery strikes, which are called in by your squad leaders. You also have deployable assets for your forward operating bases like mortars, tow missiles, AA guns, sandbags, and you have a UAV for your commander role. Some of this stuff is just classic Battlefield features that we don't have anymore. What's truly impressive is there's also now built-in voice over IP, complete with squad radio communications as well as local communications. I don't think enemy players can hear your local comms yet, but it's pretty cool to actually be able to talk to people outside of your squad in your area as you're moving up on an objective. One more reminder, this is all just a mod, and yet it's working super well. To go along with the new player and squad mechanics, you have new large-scale maps and game modes. The classic Battlefield 3 maps, both from the base game as well as the premium maps from the DLCs, all have been opened up. Those limited borders have been taken off, and actually a lot of these maps, the fighting takes place on parts of the maps that you can never actually access in the base version of Battlefield 3. You still have capture areas on those hero areas on the main part of the map, but the borders have truly been opened up. In fact, I've never actually seen a border to the map in this game, letting you flank to your heart's content. I did get one glitch on one of my first games though that spawned me so far out of the map that my in-game map was broken and couldn't even show where I was. I had to look around in this barren landscape and just guess in which direction the battle was and then jog my way in, which was pretty funny for one of my first experiences in the mod. But before long, once I got closer and realized that I had actually picked the correct direction to find the battle on the map, I was just amazed by how much there was of the freedom of movement. That level of player movement freedom is one of the things that I really miss about the older Battlefield base games. The new games really do have limited map playable areas. For balance purposes, sure, they've gotten pretty tight on their map design, but it's really cool to see these classic Battlefield 3 maps opened all the way up. Much like Squad and other more hardcore tactical shooters, deploying a forward spawn point can only be done by a squad leader, and he has to be there with his squad. In the case of this first version of the Reality mod, you have to have no less than 4 of your squad mates close by to be able to place a spawn point. That's a pretty aggressive requirement, and I think that might get tweaked in the future because spawn points forward of your main spawns when I was playing this were few and far between. So there was a lot of running, but again, I hope that gets tweaked. When it works, the spawn points are handy, but because there's no directional hit markers, if an enemy figures out where your forward spawn point is, expect them to sit there and watch it and get some free kills. There's also a brand new medical system. There's still revives like the main Battlefield series, but those are limited. You get 1 revive. If you die again, you're done. There's also bleed out mechanics, field dressings, and a new and improved medic bag healing system. Much like you would expect for a realistic mod, for weapon handling, once you reload, your soldier's going to toss that mag. You're going to lose the ammo that was still in it. While there still is a Battlefield 3 suppression effect, it no longer makes your bullets go wild just because you're suppressed. You're heavily visually suppressed, but your bullets still leave your barrel and hit the target. So, if you're getting suppressed, you have a chance of getting a snapshot in and taking out your attacker if you can fight through the suppression. That, I think, takes away some of the main complaints that some players had about Battlefield 3 and 4's base game suppression system. Bullets hit hard, as you would also expect, and most players can be down with just 1 or 2 body shots, and every headshot is going to be a kill. Keep a close eye on your ammo count though, because you don't carry a sidearm in most cases. You just have your knife for if you run completely dry on your primary ammo. There are supposed to be a number of vehicles in this, but on the servers that I played on, the only vehicles that I ever saw were the transport helicopters, the Venoms, on Gulf of Oman. So again, there are supposed to be vehicles, especially the transports, but I don't know if those just didn't make it in time for this first version launch, or if the servers that I was playing just had those transport vehicles disabled. Regardless, eventually, the Reality mod wants to include all of the main Battlefield 3 base game vehicles in the mod, including all of the helicopters, all of the jets, the APCs, and the tanks. Those vehicles will all come with more advanced vehicle physics and controls and have a multi-person crew where required, along with, for the aircraft, advanced flight models and vehicle handling. Perhaps one of the biggest bullet point features already in the mod though is the player count. This mod already supports over 100 players per server, and again, those are high tick rate servers. I don't have the exact number for you, but it could easily be 60 Hz with how well these servers are performing, and even with 100 players, the client performance is generally pretty good. You will get frame rate drops in close areas, pretty severe at times, but it wouldn't surprise me if they continue tweaking that and got the client frame rate under more control. Regardless, that player count I think is worth the slight hit on the client frame rate just for those larger scale realistic fights. So there you have it guys, a thing that I never thought would exist. good mods for Battlefield 3. All you have to do is install that Venus Unleashed framework, log in, and make sure that you've launched your Origin or Steam version of Battlefield 3 at least once, so it can confirm that you have a legit key, and you can play this to your heart's content, and I would recommend. I had a lot of fun with this, even if, like a lot of these more realistic shooters, the fun of the round that you're playing is going to depend on the balance of the teams and how organized your team is. If the enemy team knows the spawn points, knows the objectives better, and your team is the more unorganized one, you're just going to have a bad time. But I have definitely had some good fun exploring these classic Battlefield 3 maps in a completely different way, and I would recommend that you guys try it out. After all, it's totally free if you own the game. For now, thank you guys for watching. Thank you to the Venus Unleashed and Reality Mod teams for their hard work here. This is just super impressive, and I hope you guys enjoy this small look at what this mod has to offer. I'll see you guys next time.